The silence pressed against my ears like water. I stood in the kitchen where Dylan's friends had laughed and shouted hours before, their empty bottles still crowding the counter. The smell of their cigarettes clung to the curtains. My wedding ring caught the overhead light as I reached for a glass. The thin gold band felt heavier than it had in years, weighted with everything I'd just destroyed. I poured water I didn't want and set it down untouched. The house stretched around me, too big and too quiet. Every room held echoes of what we used to be. The couch where we'd watched movies, the table where we'd shared breakfast in better days. The front door remained unlocked. Part of me hoped Dylan would walk back through it, that we could pretend the last few hours never happened. But I knew better. His words still rang in the air. I'm done. I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, each step creaking familiar protests. The bed looked wrong somehow. Sheets rumpled from this morning when everything still felt salvageable. My phone sat silent on the nightstand. No missed calls, no texts. Dylan meant what he said. I twisted the ring around my finger, remembering the day he'd slipped it there. We'd been so sure then, so certain we could weather anything together. Now I wondered if I should take it off. Sunlight sliced through the bedroom blinds, cutting harsh lines across the hardwood floor. I'd barely slept, drifting in and out of dreams where Dylan came home, and we talked through everything like adults. Reality felt different in daylight, colder. I padded to the kitchen and started coffee out of habit. The routine felt hollow. 2 mugs, 2 spoons, enough for both of us. I caught myself and put 1 mug back. The living room still reeked of stale beer and smoke. I opened windows, trying to air out the damage. Dylan's friends had left more than bottles behind. They'd left the wreckage of accusations and jealousy that had been building for months. The coffee maker gurgled to life. I leaned against the counter, studying the mess we'd made of our marriage. The cheating was just the final crack in something that had been breaking for a long time. My phone buzzed. My heart jumped, hoping for Dylan's name on the screen. Instead, my sister Claire. Coffee later? You sounded weird yesterday. I'd forgotten our conversation, how I'd tried to explain the distance growing between Dylan and me. Claire had listened, offered advice I hadn't wanted to hear. Can't today, I texted back. Rain check? Everything okay? I stared at the question. No, nothing was okay. Everything had collapsed in the span of one terrible evening. Just tired, I lied. The coffee finished brewing. I poured a single cup and wondered what came next. The sound of Dylan's key in the lock made me freeze. I'd been cleaning obsessively for 2 hours, scrubbing away every trace of last night's disaster. He stepped through the door carrying an empty duffel bag. His jaw was set, eyes avoiding mine as he headed straight for the stairs. Dylan, wait. He paused on the 3rd step. I'm just getting some clothes. We need to talk. Do we? He turned, and I saw exhaustion carved into every line of his face. What's left to say, Mallory? I followed him upstairs, watching as he pulled shirts from the closet with mechanical precision. Each piece of clothing felt like another nail in our coffin. I made a mistake, I said to his back. A mistake. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's what you're calling it? What do you want me to call it? He spun around, the duffel bag clutched in his fists. I want you to call it what it is. You slept with someone else because you were angry at me. The words hung between us like a challenge. I couldn't deny them because they were true. You accused me of flirting, I said quietly, in front of everyone. So that makes it okay? No, nothing makes it okay. My voice cracked. But we've been falling apart for months, Dylan. Last night was just the end of something that was already dying. He stared at me for a long moment, then resumed packing. Where will you go? I asked. My brother's couch. He zipped the bag closed. For now. Dylan sat heavily on the edge of our bed, duffel bag at his feet. The fight had drained out of both of us, leaving only raw honesty. I found this yesterday, he said, pulling a folded paper from his pocket. Before my friends came over, I recognized my own handwriting, the letter I'd started writing to him weeks ago, then abandoned. I'd poured everything onto those pages. My loneliness, my frustration, my fear that we were becoming strangers. I never sent it, I whispered. I know. I found it in the kitchen drawer when I was looking for batteries. He unfolded it carefully. You wrote that you felt invisible, that I looked through you instead of at you. Heat burned behind my eyes. Dylan? You were right. His voice was barely audible. I've been so angry about work, about money, about everything falling apart around us. I took it out on you. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, it doesn't. He met my eyes finally. But maybe it explains why you did it. We sat in silence, the letter between us like evidence of all our failures. I thought about the months of short conversations and empty glances, the way we'd stopped reaching for each other. I accused you of flirting because I was jealous, he said. Not of Marcus, but of the way you lit up when someone actually talked to you. Really talked to you. I haven't felt seen by you in so long, I admitted. I know. He folded the letter again, creasing the edges with careful fingers. The question is whether it's too late to change that. The possibility hung in the air between us, fragile as spun glass. Dylan pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. A photo from our honeymoon stared back, both of us laughing on a beach in Key West, sun-drunk and impossibly happy. I've been carrying this around for weeks, he said, trying to remember when we stopped looking at each other like that. I traced the image with my finger. We looked so young, so certain that love would be enough to carry us through anything. I don't know if I can get past what happened, he said quietly. I know, but I don't know if I can walk away either. He pocketed the phone. 5 years, Mallory. We built something together. We also broke it. Yeah. He stood, shouldering the duffel bag. My brother thinks I'm crazy for even considering staying. What do you think? He paused at the bedroom door. I think we both made mistakes. Mine just happened over months instead of one night. The admission settled between us. I wanted to reach for him, to bridge the distance that felt both infinite and fragile. There's a counselor, I said. Dr. Martinez. Claire recommended her. You already looked into it? This morning, after you left. I twisted my wedding ring, still unsure whether I should be wearing it. I made an appointment for Thursday, if you want to come. Dylan was quiet for so long I thought he'd decided against it. Thursday, he repeated finally. 2:00. He nodded once, then walked downstairs. I heard the front door open and close, but this time he didn't take his key. 3 days later, I sat in Dr. Martinez's waiting room, checking my phone every 30 seconds. Dylan was 10 minutes late. The receptionist gave me a sympathetic smile. Sometimes the first session is the hardest to walk into. I nodded, twisting my wedding ring. I'd kept it on, though it felt different now, less like a promise, more like a question mark. The door chimed. Dylan stepped inside, looking as nervous as I felt. He'd shaved and was wearing the blue shirt I'd bought him for his birthday last year. Sorry, he said, settling into the chair beside me. Traffic. We sat in careful silence until Dr. Martinez called us back. Her office was warm and unintimidating, filled with plants and soft lighting. So, she said once we were seated, what brings you here today? I looked at Dylan. He looked back. For the first time in months, we were really seeing each other. We broke something, I said finally. We're here to see if it can be fixed. Dylan reached over and took my hand. His fingers were cold, but they held on tight. It won't be easy, Dr. Martinez warned. Rebuilding trust takes time. Both of you will have to do work you might not want to do. We know, Dylan said, but we want to try. An hour later, we walked to our cars in the parking lot. The session had been hard. Painful questions, difficult admissions, the beginning of a long road back to each other. Same time next week? Dylan asked. Same time next week. He kissed my forehead before getting in his car. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a start. I drove home to our empty house, where I'd sleep alone again tonight. But for the first time in weeks, I wasn't afraid of the silence. We had work to do, both of us. And maybe, if we were lucky and brave enough to keep showing up, we'd find our way back to that couple laughing on a beach in Key West. The wedding ring caught the afternoon light as I turned the key in our front door. I left it on. After the storm, broken trust, the space between us, what we broke, coming back. In the aftermath of a devastating night that shattered their 5-year marriage, Mallory must confront the consequences of her betrayal, while Dylan grapples with his own role in their relationship's breakdown. Set over 3 intense days in quiet Savannah, this intimate story explores how a couple faces the wreckage of accusations, jealousy, and infidelity. When Dylan returns to collect his belongings, both are forced to acknowledge the months of emotional distance that led to their crisis. Through painful honesty, and the discovery of an unsent letter revealing Mallory's long-buried feelings of invisibility, they begin to understand how they became strangers in their own home. The story examines whether love can survive betrayal, and if two people who have broken each other's trust can find the courage to rebuild. Rather than offering easy forgiveness, it presents the realistic beginning of a difficult journey toward possible reconciliation, ending with their first tentative step into couples therapy, a choice that requires both to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their marriage. This is a mature exploration of how relationships fracture and the hard work required to piece them back together. Dr. Martinez leaned forward slightly, her pen poised over a yellow legal pad. Last week we talked about the events that brought you here. Today I want to focus on what you each need to feel safe in this relationship. Dylan shifted beside me on the couch. We'd been sitting here for 20 minutes, and I could feel the tension radiating from him like heat. Safe, he repeated. I need to know she won't run to someone else when we fight. The words stung, but I forced myself to sit with them. And I need to know you won't humiliate me in front of people when you're angry. So you're saying it's my fault? No. Dr. Martinez's voice was gentle but firm. Mallory, can you rephrase that without assigning blame? I took a breath. I need to feel respected, even when we're having problems. Dylan's jaw tightened. Respected. Right. Like sleeping with Marcus was respectful. Dylan. The therapist's tone sharpened slightly. What do you need from Mallory specifically? He stared at his hands. Transparency, no secrets, and time to rebuild what got destroyed. Dr. Martinez made notes. Mallory, what would transparency look like to you? Honesty about his feelings instead of accusations. My voice came out steadier than I expected. And maybe acknowledgement that we were both drowning before that night happened. The silence stretched between us. Outside, Savannah traffic hummed past the office windows. I'm going to give you both homework, Dr. Martinez said finally. Individual assignments. You'll work on them separately this week. She handed us each a folded paper. Don't share these with each other yet. We'll discuss what you discover next session. Dylan pocketed his without looking. I clutched mine, wondering what truths it might force me to face. The assignment sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 2 days. Every time I walked past it, my stomach clenched. Finally, on Wednesday evening, I unfolded the paper with shaking hands. Write a letter to your partner about a time you felt truly seen by them. Then write another about a time you felt invisible. Don't focus on recent events. Go deeper. I stared at the words until they blurred. A letter. Just like the one Dylan had found, the one that started us down this path toward honesty. I made tea and sat at the kitchen table with a notebook. The first letter came easily. Our second anniversary, when Dylan surprised me with tickets to see my favorite band. He'd remembered a casual comment I'd made months earlier, planned everything in secret. You knew me, I wrote. Not just the surface version, but the part that lights up when the music gets loud and the crowd sings along. You saw something I'd forgotten about myself. The second letter proved harder. My pen hovered over the page for long minutes before I finally began. Last Christmas at your parents' house, your mother asked about our plans for children, and you answered without looking at me. Maybe someday, you said, like I wasn't sitting right there, like my opinion was irrelevant. The words poured out, months of feeling like a background character in my own marriage. Decisions made without consulting me. Conversations that stopped when I entered a room. My device buzzed with a text from Claire. How's therapy going? Hard, I typed back, but necessary. Proud of you for doing the work. I set the gadget aside and kept writing. By midnight, I had 5 pages of truth Dylan had never heard. Thursday morning brought rain that drummed against my bedroom windows. I'd slept poorly, dreams filled with fragments of the letters I'd written for Dr. Martinez. I twisted the band around my finger, a habit that had returned since Dylan moved out. The metal felt foreign now, like jewelry borrowed from someone else's life. In the shower, I tried to imagine reading those letters aloud to Dylan next week. The vulnerability felt terrifying, like standing naked in a crowded room. My sister called while I was getting dressed. Want to grab lunch? You've been hermit-like lately. I can't today, therapy prep. How's that going? Really? I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my bathrobe. We're both trying, but it's like learning a new language when you're already 40 years old. You're 27, Mal. You know what I mean. We've had so many bad habits for so long. Fighting patterns, communication failures. It feels impossible sometimes. Claire was quiet for a moment. But you're still going. Yeah, we're still going. After we hung up, I finished the assignment Dr. Martinez had given us. The final question asked me to identify one concrete change I could make immediately. I wrote, stop assuming Dylan's motives. Ask him directly what he means instead of interpreting his silence. Simple words. Revolutionary concept. I folded the papers and tucked them into my purse. Tomorrow we'd sit in that warm office again and excavate more truth from the wreckage of our marriage. The gold band caught the morning light as I locked the front door. Still there. Still trying. Dr. Martinez had us read our letters aloud. Dylan went first, his voice rough as he described the early days when I used to leave notes in his work bag. Little jokes, encouragement before big meetings. She made me feel like someone worth rooting for, he said. Then came his second letter, the invisibility one. After her promotion last year, she stopped asking about my day, just assumed I was fine while she dealt with her new stress. I felt like furniture in my own house. My chest tightened. I'd been so focused on my own neglect, I'd never considered his. When my turn came, I stumbled through both letters, my voice breaking on the Christmas memory. Dylan's face went pale. I didn't realize, he said quietly. That's the point, Dr. Martinez said. You both stopped seeing each other clearly. Mallory, what did you learn from this exercise? That we've been lonely together for longer than I wanted to admit. And Dylan? He ran his hands through his hair. That I checked out emotionally months before what happened with Marcus. The admission hung in the air like smoke. Dr. Martinez made notes, then looked up at both of us. The infidelity was a symptom, not the disease, she said. The disease was the slow erosion of intimacy and attention you both allowed to happen. So what do we do now? Dylan asked. You rebuild deliberately, with intention, starting with small daily choices to see and prioritize each other. She handed us a new assignment sheet. This week, you're going to practice one skill, asking for what you need instead of hoping your partner will guess. Dylan caught my eye as we stood to leave. For the first time in months, he really looked at me. Coffee? He asked. We could practice. The coffee shop on Bull Street buzzed with afternoon conversations, but our corner table felt isolated. Dylan stirred sugar into his cup with mechanical precision. So, he said finally, practice. I wrapped my hands around my mug for warmth. I need you to tell me when you're angry instead of going silent. The guessing game makes everything worse. He nodded slowly. I need you to tell me when you feel shut out instead of finding it somewhere else. The reference to Marcus hit like a slap, but I forced myself to sit with the discomfort. That's fair. Is it? He looked up from his coffee. Because part of me still wants to punish you for it. And part of me knows I drove you to it. You didn't drive me to anything. I made that choice. The words came out clearer than I expected. But you're right that we both created the conditions for it. An older couple at the next table laughed about something, their voices blending with the espresso machine's hiss. Normal people having normal conversations. I miss us, Dylan said quietly. Which us? The early version or the people we became before everything fell apart? He considered this. Maybe neither. Maybe we need to figure out who we are now. My device sat silent on the table between us. No emergency texts from work, no distractions, just two people trying to find their way back to each other. Dr. Martinez asked if I'm ready to move home, he said. My heart stuttered. What did you tell her? That I don't know yet, but I want to find out. What would you need? To feel ready? Time, and proof that we can have conversations like this one without a referee. I reached across the table, stopping just short of his hand. We're having one now. He smiled, barely, but it was there. Yeah, we are. Dylan came by the house Saturday morning with his toolbox. The kitchen faucet had been dripping for weeks. One of those small irritations we'd both ignored while our marriage crumbled around us. You don't have to fix everything, I said, watching him work under the sink. Just the faucet. His voice was muffled by the cabinet. The rest will take longer. I made sandwiches while he worked, falling into a domestic rhythm that felt both familiar and foreign. We were different people now. Scarred, more careful with each other. Hand me that wrench? He asked. I knelt beside him, close enough to smell his shampoo. When our fingers brushed during the handoff, neither of us pulled away. There. He turned the water on, testing the repair. Good as new. Better, maybe. The old one was always temperamental. He packed his tools slowly, like he wasn't ready to leave. Dr. Martinez wants to see us twice a week now. Can you do that? With work? I'll make it work. He stood, brushing dust from his knees. This matters more. At the front door, he paused. I've been thinking about what you said, about needing to feel respected. Dylan, let me finish. His voice was gentle but firm. That night with my friends, I was showing off, trying to look like the man in charge. But I made you small to make myself feel big. The admission settled between us like an offering. Thank you, I whispered. He touched my wedding ring where it rested on my finger, the first time he'd acknowledged it since that terrible night. I'm not ready to come home yet, but I'm not giving up either. After he left, I sat in the quiet kitchen listening to the silence. But this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt like possibility. The golden band caught the afternoon light streaming through the window. Still there, still trying, still fighting for something worth saving. The hard work, rebuilding ground, between sessions, finding our way back, learning to see. In Act 2, Mallory and Dylan begin the difficult work of rebuilding their marriage through couples therapy with Dr. Martinez. The sessions force them to confront uncomfortable truths about their relationship's gradual deterioration, how they both became invisible to each other long before the night of betrayal. Through individual assignments, including writing letters about times they felt seen and unseen, they discover that Dylan's emotional withdrawal preceded Mallory's infidelity, while her need for validation went unrecognized for months. The therapy homework reveals painful insights, Dylan's feelings of being taken for granted after Mallory's promotion, and Mallory's experience of being excluded from decisions and conversations. As they practice new communication skills outside the therapist's office, they begin to have honest conversations without mediation. Dylan starts small acts of care, like fixing their broken kitchen faucet, while acknowledging his role in diminishing Mallory through public humiliation. Though he's not ready to move back home, his commitment to twice-weekly therapy sessions and his gentle touch of her wedding ring signal tentative hope. This act explores the realistic, unglamorous work of relationship repair, the homework assignments, difficult conversations, and small daily choices required to rebuild trust and intimacy after betrayal.